Fast Forward Productions. The women are speaking.
Oh man, you guys, today this is such a good story. I don't even know if you guys will think it's funny. I'm laughing like remembering it, but I don't know if it's gonna feel like as funny telling the story. Welcome back to another episode of Below 14th Street, where I tell my fashion industry stories from New York. Oh my God, I'm already crying. I really don't know if this is going to be funny to you. It's funny because like I'm remembering like specific things, like the way this person looked at us and like what happened. Oh my God. I might have to like try this a couple times. I really hope that I can land it in the first story because it's just so fucking funny. So I have a history of breaking into Fashion Week. I'll just like start there. I can tell you all of my tricks. There's a million ways to do it, and then people will probably hate it. Actually, I don't know that anymore because every couple years they change how to get in. But oh my God, I just kind of feel like I'm allowed to be there. You know, like the way that I view it is like Fashion Week's not that big of a deal, and I should be able to be there. And the only thing really stopping me is security. So you just have to like figure out a way to get in. I've broken into Fashion Week 3 times successfully. I've tried 3 times. I've successfully gotten in 3 times. But the first time I almost got arrested. So we're going to kick off with that story. Actually, no, let's start off with the other 2 because they're definitely not as exciting. The first time I broke into Fashion Week, which I'm going to tell you at the end, I wasn't working in the fashion industry yet. I was like trying everything to kind of get in there. Like I was just shy of hiding in the trash bin. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I was like very close to trying that just to get in. But the other 2, I was working in the fashion industry. So when you're working in the fashion industry, you don't just like get carte blanche like entrance. You don't just like automatically get invited to like everything, right? You get invited to a ton, but it's stuff specifically to, it's like in events or opportunities specific to the brand and the job that you have. So I definitely went to Fashion Week with Rebecca Minkoff many times because it was my job. I went to Fashion Week with BCBG because it was my job. I went to Fashion Week with People's Revolution. I might have done 2 at BCBG, maybe like 4 or 5 at Rebecca Minkoff. I worked at Prada, but I never could go to Fashion Week because it was in Milan. If it was in New York, I probably could have gone. Same thing with Gucci. Oscar de la Renta was in New York, but I definitely was way too low end of the totem pole to even like be considered. No, I did go to Fashion Week with Oscar de la Renta. Oh my God, I should tell that story. I'll just tell it really quick because it's not that exciting, but I was the person checking people in at Oscar de la Renta's Fashion Week. And just so you know, there's typically 2 shows. One that is now what the public knows, which is like for the celebrities and for influencers and stuff like that. But then there's always one for industry insiders. And if you guys want to know more about Fashion Week, like it's actually kind of infuriating how Fashion Week has changed the fashion world. And I can definitely dive into that if you're interested, because it being exposed to the public like negates the point of Fashion Week. But that's a fucking conversation for another day that infuriates me. My point is there's 2 fashion weeks, one for the quote unquote public and then one for industry insiders. So things like department store buyers or publishing like Vogue and different magazines and different things like that. So we had 2 shows. And so I worked the door for both shows. As an intern, I worked the door for both. And so you had this clipboard. And one, not working in the industry for very long and like not being from New York and not knowing industry insiders, there were people's names on there that like are super, super, super high up at Dillard's or super high up at Nordstrom or super high up at like Dillard's by Oscar de la Renta, super high up at Bergdorf's or advertising executives at Tom Ford. Like you don't know who these fucking people are. You know, they're behind the scenes executives. And so you have this clipboard, which is really important because you want to make sure that everybody's coming in is allowed to be coming in. And so, you know, they're supposed to like identify themselves. They're not going to like pull out an ID at a show like that, but they're given like a code number or something so you can check it off. It's something that you can't usually like intercept and just like mosey in. And so I'm working the door. Now there were 2 of us at the door, one for, let's say, high profile people and one for, let's say, low profile people, which is like your normies. And I was working a low profile door because I was a nobody, a plebeian, a low end of the totem pole. And the person who was full-time assistant in the PR department was working for the high profile people, checking them in. Well, she had to go do something. So she was like, you have to start checking people in over here. And oh my God, like new in the industry, I was checking in Jessica Biel with Justin Timberlake. I was checking in. Beyonce was there. I mean, there were so many celebrities that I was checking in, and Oprah was the first one that came towards me. And I was like, what am I supposed to do? I can't be like, name, like, come on. And so I just did what felt right. And I was like, hi, we've got you right this way. We've got you right this way. Like, I'm not going to be like, how do you spell Beal? Like, come on. Like, I'm not doing it. So that was kind of funny. Okay. So I went to Oscar de la Renta's Fashion Week. I think I only went to 1 seasons. I went to multiple. I went to so many with Rebecca, plenty with BCBG. The thing is, like, you really get sick of going to Fashion Week, which sounds so bougie and annoying, but people think when you go to the fashion show that it's like an hour and a half long. Fashion shows are like 8 minutes, 10 minutes. And so it takes 30 to 40 minutes to get through security, to get checked in, to find your seat. And then it takes like 30 to 40 minutes to get out. So you're there for like an hour and a half, 2 hours for a 10-minute show. It's excruciatingly annoying. If you have to do it for work often, it becomes the bane of your existence. It gets to the point when you're like, oh, intern, you want to go to Fashion Week? Go in my place. I have seats. Like, go for it. You just like don't really want to go anymore. But I missed it. Okay. So I was working at BCBG and I went to a few shows. I think I went to 4. And then I worked at Prada and I was like, oh my God, I don't get to go to Fashion Week this year. I want to go. I want to go. So I hacked my way in. And I don't think you can do this anymore, but I could. So when I worked at BCBG, we were given a QR code. And with that QR code, you scan it and that's how you get in. That was like your security entrance. And so I had this old QR code. So what I decided to do is I took the QR code and I put it into Microsoft Paint and I added 1 dot because then it wouldn't register the QR code. It wouldn't say it was from a past year. It wouldn't say that she's not allowed. Like, it would just have an incorrect code. And so I went in just normal, like nobody's business, brought my friend because she was my quote unquote assistant, scanned the QR code, and it didn't work, obviously. And so I went up to the person and I was like, hi, my QR code's not working. I work for BCBG. And so she looks at the list and she's like, I don't see your name. And I was like, Lucy's my boss, or Kristen, or you could try this name, or 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 this name. And I even pulled up an email and I was like, look, it says Ashley at bcbgmaxmatazria.com. And she was like, that's so weird. You're not on here. And I was like, this is like a big part of my job. I have to be here. And she was like, well, it's clear you work here. You can go right in. I even had a business card that said my name on it. And I was like, thank you so much. And so me and my friend got in. Now, that's not necessarily something you can do like to the public because I had last year's QR code because I did get to go. But that was how I broke in multiple times. I tried that until they changed the scanners and then I couldn't break in anymore, which was kind of a bummer. But I did that twice and that was super fun. Okay, that was the quick story. Now I'm going to tell you about how me and my friend Katie had such an excruciating time trying to break into Fashion Week the first round. So again, if you've been listening to this Below 14th Street segment, then you know that I'm someone who is relentless in her pursuit of what she wants. And I desperately, desperately, desperately would do anything. And you can see it in the Oscar de la Renta story, the Kelly Cutrone story, that I would do anything to get into the industry. Because the way that I viewed it was, the beginning of my career sets up everything. And I believe that in entrepreneurship as well. You can see us doing this with Dial Zero Marketing, that we're trying to work with the best of the best so that it opens up every single door that could possibly come our way. And so at the beginning, I was like, I will lick the floors to work at Oscar de la Renta. I will like bend over backwards to get job experience doing X, Y, Z, because it makes it so much easier for the next person to say, yes, you know, you can come with us. Yes, we trust you. Yes, you can get a job, whatever. So I was like, I don't even care if I'm paid by these people. I just need the name on the resume. You can never take that name off my resume. And then I want to move on to the next. Katie and I, while we were in college, we were like, what if we flew to New York and broke into Fashion Week and worked Fashion Week, and we could put that we worked Fashion Week in New York City on our resume? That would be huge. Okay. And so we conspired. We flew out to New York. We stayed with my cousin. She lived in Queens. And so we like crashed on her couch. And like, I think I bought her like a humidifier as a thank you. Like, Laura, if you're listening to this, what a stupid present. She might have asked for it. Okay. So anyway, we fly out to New York and we tell our professors we were invited or we applied and we got in to work Fashion Week. We did not. We had no idea what the fuck we were doing. But we were like, we could figure this out. Like, we could figure it out. And so here was our plan. We're going to go at 5 o'clock in the morning, dressed in all black, and we're going to go to the check-in spaces where people check in to intern. And we're going to say, we don't understand why we're not on the list. We're NYU students, and this is our professor, and we're going to pull a random name out of a hat, right? Like offline. That was our plan. We show up wearing all black shoes, black pants, black shirt, no frills. We're not like dressed to the nines, And we go to this. There were like internship, like there were like signs, like sign in here to work your internship at fashion. It was like too easy for us. So we walk up to this, we were like, oh, we're fucking in, dude. And so I walk up, I was like, let me do the talking, Katie, because Katie was too nice and too honest. And I was like, no. I gotta handle this. So I walk up and I'm like, hi, we're here to check in. I am Ashley. This is Katie. We have an internship, or we have like work set up. We volunteered to set up. We go to NYU. And they're like, who's your teacher? And we were like, Kathleen so-and-so, whatever the fuck her name was. And they were like, we don't have you on the list. And I was like, oh, shoot, maybe we didn't send in our thing in time. We're here. Is there any work that we can do? And they were like, no, you have to be on the list. I'm like, ugh. And I was like, is there anything you can do? Like, who can we email? We'll use our NYU email address. And I was like, worst case scenario, we go find someone with an NYU email address. We ask them to send this email, and then we randomly get a fake ID. Like, this is how my brain thinks, okay? So I was like, I'll figure a way around this. And so they said, no. They said, no, you can't email anything. It's too late. It's past the time. It's past the checkoff. And I was like, there's really nothing? Like 5 o'clock in the morning, we just want to work. And they were like, no, shut it down. Fine. So then we go to an entrance and we say, hi, we're here to work. We're Ashley and Katie. We're volunteers. And they're like, okay, volunteer entrance is over there. Great. So we go around to this volunteer entrance and they were like, we don't have you on the sheet. Again, we're like, is there anything we can do? And they're like, no. So then we were like, okay, let's try to come back at 1 and let's try to change how we look. So maybe we'll like curl our hair, or maybe we'll change our makeup, or maybe we'll like put on a different outfit. So we did that. And so then we come back later and we're like, hi, I'm Katie. She's Ashley. And we wanted to check, like we're like switching names. And we're like, hi, we're here to volunteer. And they were like, we remember you. Like, you're not, no. Like the answer is no. We're like, fuck. Okay, whatever. We're going to try the next day. So then we like go to this like coffee shop and we're scheming. We're like, how do we do this? How do we figure this out? Maybe if we like call one of the NYU professors, or we tell them the truth, like, okay, we flew in from St. Louis. We want, to get in the door. Is there anything you could do to help? Like maybe they'll like pull a solid and like help us out. Keep in mind, this is what I'm not telling you, is that New York City Fashion Week, first of all, iconic, right? But here's the biggest deal, is that it was at the Tents. And you might not know what that means. If you're older, maybe you do, but like Fashion Week was at the Tents at Bryant Park. So there's this small park in New York City by the library where Carrie tries to marry big. And there's this park and they popped up these tents, and those were the Fashion Week tents. And it was called the Tents. People would be like, oh yeah, like Fashion Week's at the Tents. And that was Bryant Park. Well, it had been at the Tents for like 15 years or something. There's actually a really cool documentary. I think it's called The Tents, on Amazon Prime, I want to say, or maybe Hulu, about Fashion Week at the Tents, which is really interesting. I think it's interesting. And this was the last ever Fashion Week at the Tents. And then what sucks is that after the Tents, they tried to make it like a Lincoln Center thing. But after that, everybody just didn't really have a home for Fashion Week. So everyone was like doing it in these random places. And what sucks is that when you're working, you're doing stuff for Fashion Week, you basically just have to go to like room A, room B, room C, room D. Instead, this was like, you have to go down to 11th Street and then all the way up to 55th. And then you have to go over to Columbus Place. And it was insane. So this was the last year that it was at the tent. So, and the last shows, right? So we were like, oh my God, we have to get it. This iconic week. And so we try again. We try doing the whole thing. We were like, this time, let's be honest. Let's not try to con anyone. Let's try to be honest. So we go to that volunteer check-in for NYU, and I'm like, hi, here's the thing. We lied to you yesterday. We're from St. Louis. We're doing anything to get some work experience. We both want to move to New York. We both want to have something on our resume that says that we worked at New York Fashion Week. This would change our lives. Like, we are not asking for money. We will sweep. We won't say a word. We're not even asking to go to the shows. And they were like, no, you have to be on the list. So we're like, fuck. We go around to the volunteer entrance, same thing, where it's like, hey, you know, we're really just trying to work. We're so sorry that we lied to you yesterday. We're just trying to get in. And they were like, we empathize, but no, you have to be on the list. There's so many security things in place and da 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 da. So we're like, what are we supposed to do? So then I was like, let's just try walking in. Like, what if we just like sneak in behind someone? You know what I mean? Let's just see what happens. Because what happens when you walk into the tents is that you can get in, but then they stop you because there's like a check-in point. So I was like, we just need to see what that check-in point looks like, because maybe we can like scurry around something, or maybe we can like distract someone. Like, this is like what I'm doing. Okay. And so we walk in and it's clear we're skating. I'm like, you could go this way, you could go this, or we could try this. Or like, if you do this with this guy, the security guy walks up and he's like, what are you girls doing? And we were like, oh, nothing. We're going. And he's like, no, you're not going anywhere. You're coming with me. And he was like, I'm head of security here. And I've seen you girls roaming around trying to break in. People are telling me that you guys are trying to get in and that you're trying to violate security protocol and all this stuff. I've been watching you guys for the past, because we tried multiple times, multiple days. And so he's like, what are you guys trying to do? We have eyes here. We have security here. Like, we can't have people like stealing things. Like, what is up with this? Like, we could have you arrested. And we were like, no. We just want to work. We just want to work Fashion Week so that it can be on our resume. We're from Missouri. Missouri experience doesn't really translate over to New York experience. So we're just trying to get our feet wet. We're just trying to get experience. We're just trying to get our feet wet. We are just trying to get in the door so that we can get New York Fashion Week experience on our resume. We'll sweep the floors. We'll vacuum. We'll put pamphlets down on chairs. We'll fold up chairs. We'll stand in the corner and help dress people. Like, we will do anything. We just want New York Fashion Week experience. We're not trying to sit. We're not trying to watch. We're just here to try to work. And the guy was like, are you seriously telling me, head of security, are you seriously telling me that you're trying to break into Fashion Week so that you can work at Fashion Week? And we were like, yeah, like, it's going to change our lives. And he was like, you don't even want to watch the show. And we were like, we just want to work Fashion Week. And he's like, wow, you guys are wild. You guys are crazy. Here, we thought that you were trying to like steal merchandise, or that you were trying to like hurt someone or like get to someone or something like that. And you just want to work. And I was like, no, we just want to work. That's it. And if you have any connections, we'll take them. He's laughing at this point. He's like, you guys are insane. Like, I truly believe that you were trying to like fuck something up. And so he was like, here's the thing. It's the last year at the tents. I have a family. They're not really interested in the whole fashion industry thing, but I have tickets to every show. And if you guys are really this excited to be here, then I will give you tickets to every show. And we were like, what? And there were only like 6 shows the next day, maybe 8 shows the next day. And he was like, yeah, like, I want to go to this one and I want to go to this one. Those are the 2 that my daughters want to go to. But outside of that, you can go to any of the other ones. And I was like, are you kidding me? And he's like, yeah, like, come on in, have a good time. Go home today. Come back tomorrow, get dolled up. You can bring friends. I have 6 tickets total, so you can bring 4 friends. And we were like, okay, great. Cool. So we go back to my cousins and I was like, tell your friends that they can come with us. I obviously didn't have any friends in the city. And we get dolled up and we are like front row for Nicolas K, who I don't even know if he's still around. We were there from Moschino, which is like one of the best shows that you could go to. We did standing room for, I want to say DVF. And there was a 4th show that we went to, which was so cool. But it was also cool because when you got to the tents, there's all these people lined up and they're like industry executives. You can tell that they're like big deal people. We walk up, he recognizes us and he's like, you 4, come with me. And we walk past the line and we get into Fashion Week before anybody. And you walk in and like when you go to Fashion Week, there's always like free vendors and like sponsored things, right? So there's always like a car and there's always like a bar set up with like Kettle One or something like that. So we walk in, there's like free champagne and there's like treats and all this stuff. And like when you're working and you go to Fashion Week, all this shit is like just stuff in the way and you hate it. But when it's the first time and the only time that you've ever been so far, you're like, oh my God, this is like the best day of my life. You know, and like once you're in the tents, you can stay. So in between shows, we're like having more cocktails and you don't pay for anything. And we're having treats and like all this stuff. And the guy was like, are you guys happy? Like, you don't get your resume, but are you happy? We're like, we're so happy. Oh my God, this is the best day ever. This is the best day ever. This is the best day ever. So funny. So funny. So that is my experience breaking into Fashion Week, which shows you that like sometimes I think that the rules are just like in place for other people, but not for me. And also that I really prioritize work over pleasure often in my life because I was there to work and not to play. And honestly, I walked away so grateful. Like, what an incredible experience. But also I did walk away like, fuck, I couldn't have put any of that on my resume. I think I did end up putting it on my resume. So I was like, I can genuinely speak to what it was like. I could guess. I don't know. I don't think I did. Maybe I did. I can't remember. But anyway, I broke into Fashion Week multiple times. Worst case scenario, you get arrested. You know what I mean? It's not a big deal. Anyway, see you next time, guys. Before we go, there's a couple things I want you to remember on these episodes. I'm obviously all about helpful information and telling stories about my life. And part of being a human telling her story means that even though I'm trying my best, my memory may not always be serving me perfectly. Some facts in here might end up being inaccurate or changed or incorrect. You know, if I get a date wrong or a specific place where I was at, just know that I'm doing my best to recall from memory and piecing these stories together from you. There's also some cases where I may have changed a name or something that can refer back to a specific person so that I don't cause controversy with someone or a brand and make sure that everybody is protected. Doesn't change the point of these stories. They're all still my own. And these are all actual experiences from my life. So the stories themselves are not fabricated. There just may be some details that maybe I got wrong from memory or maybe that I'm trying to cover up so that everybody who listens feels protected and we can laugh and enjoy ourselves. Thank you for listening.